Hi. This video is going to be about how it's been a really awful year for us. So I just wanted to talk about that. Well, we wanted to talk about that, but I'm just the one quickly doing this video now. It is the last day of 2022 as I'm filming this. So the most awful thing that happened this year is our wonderful, beautiful, very good friend Sarah died from leukemia, from cancer this year. Those that follow us more closely and follow our social media, and of course hers would know that as the most heartbreaking, traumatic thing that has happened this year. So since that happened, we haven't really been able to make videos or talk about it and that, but as this year comes to a close, I wanted to talk about that. We want to do a different video honoring Sarah and show how wonderful she was, and all those times together, and we want to have that as a memorial video for her. But this video, I'm just sort of stating the facts more about what happened. Earlier in the year, Sarah was diagnosed with blood cancer, with leukemia. Her and Hyun were going back to Australia just for a visit, and they were not there for very long, where she started to feel sick and have pains and that, and she went to the hospital and quickly was diagnosed with a type of leukemia. And it might be too traumatic to sort of watch the videos now, but you know, she did vlog a little bit about that and talk a little bit about that on her channel. And she called me. It was actually when we were doing our baby Jisoo Mabel, her 100 days sort of photo shoot, and it was around that time where Sarah called me and said what had happened. She called me as soon as she could, and you know, at that point it was still like feeling like, of course you can beat this, you'll be okay, you know. It's something to go through, but like it will be okay. And back then she really did not like having to talk about her death or anything like that. It was just trying to be positive and get through that. And so she ended up staying in Australia because she lived in Korea and she lived nearby us as well. You know, Sarah was my best friend. She was making videos about chemo and everything like that, and luckily she was in Brisbane, and so she could be with her family there. But you know, her and Hyun should have been planning their wedding. They had got registry married, so they were technically married, but they were supposed to be planning an Australian wedding, planning a Korean wedding, and instead she was going through chemotherapy. And then it was in August, and I knew things weren't going as well, but you know, she was still trying to be positive and you know, thought things would be okay, even though I don't know the technical terms for it, but a gene had switched off in her body. A gene that helps fight cancer, that fights this, had switched off. I don't know, she had a really hard week in hospital, and it was a Monday morning, and I sent her a message checking in with her, and she had just had a meeting with the doctors, and they had just told her that they couldn't treat the cancer anymore, and they were talking about palliative care. And it was very, very hard conversation, and just absolutely shocked at how can they just say they're not going to treat the cancer anymore. Why isn't there something else they could do? You know, like sort of 2 weeks before she'd sort of been okay, and then so right away thinking about how can we get to Australia, what can we do. And then the next day she was just very sick that day, and then on the Wednesday, the day after, she did a video call with Hugh and I to say goodbye. And we were a mess, but she was very clear in what she wanted to say and to thank us for being such good friends to her. And you know, and she met Hyun because of us, because of everything we did together, and she wasn't sure if she would ever find love, but seeing us together and our relationship opened her up to the idea of that. And she's had, you know, wonderful 4 years with him, and just everything, and our lives are so intertwined, and she'll be a guardian angel for our children. And she talked about how she'd wanted children, and she would have asked me for advice and all these things that she never got to do. And so we said goodbye on a video chat to her, and then she had a few days where she was doing a little bit better, but this is still, she wasn't even allowed to go home. They said she's so sick she can't even go home to be home, even though they were saying they couldn't do anything more. She was on oxygen that she couldn't leave the hospital. And so we made the decision that I would fly to go see her, and I have to take Jisoo with me. So we very quickly booked flights to Australia, and I flew out Sunday night and was there Monday morning. I couldn't see her right away because I just got off international flight, of course, with COVID and everything going on like that still. I talked to her on the phone, and in messages and on the phone she was saying that she was holding on for me. She told me she was holding on for me, waiting for me. And so then so I went in with her mum to see her in hospital, and I got to see her, and she was awake and talking, and you know, she was still her. She was still bright, wonderful person that she is. And at that point we'd already said everything that we needed to say, so I was just sitting with her, and she got tired and was falling asleep, and so I just sat with her. And we said goodbye, and she woke up, and Sarah's mum was going to drive me back to my sister's place where I was staying, and said goodbye, and we'll see you tomorrow. You know, we're going to see you tomorrow. It was only a few hours later that she passed away. So I guess it really was like she was just holding on, and she held on for, you know, she held on for like another week because she was waiting to see me. They thought the day after the doctor said they couldn't treat the cancer anymore, they'd almost lost her then, but she held on, and I got to see her that one last time. So from the time from when the doctor said they couldn't treat the cancer anymore to when she died, that was less than 2 weeks. And so I know, you know, so many of her fans and her loved ones, and that it was such a big shock because you thought things were going to be okay. Yes, she was going through this, she was going through all the chemotherapy and everything, but she would be okay. Of course she would be okay. And then within 2 weeks, she was gone. So that's major traumatic thing that has happened this year. The most awful thing. And I was flying with her 8-month-old as well, so it was a very traumatic trip there. But we were still hoping for that miracle, and I think, well, I know she was still hoping for that miracle as well. She was still hoping. And then the trip back to flying with a baby, and it was a very, very difficult flight, and I got sick, and I was throwing up with a baby on the plane by myself. And there's been a lot of things this year that have compounded the grief of everything like that. We had a memorial for Sarah in Seoul a bit later. We really wanted to do something here for her. You know, this is Seoul is a place where she lived, and she loved. Her original YouTube channel name was Seoul Sarang, before she changed it to Hoju Sarah. So we wanted to do something here, and I asked people to send messages in so I could put messages up for her, and hundreds of messages were emailed in, and I printed them out with photos of her, and we just had this really lovely memorial for her that anyone was welcome to come to. And even having done all that, it's just, I still catch myself thinking, how can she not be here? How is it that I won't just see her? We live in the same neighborhood. I would, even if we weren't planning to see each other that day, we would run into each other all the time. I walk past places that hold memories every single day. I really didn't want to cry that much through this. You think you've cried all that you can, but there's always more tears. I don't know how much to sort of talk about everything with this, and I think maybe there might have to be other videos talking about all this, but okay, that's the major thing this year, of the worst year of our lives, is Sarah leaving us, and the grief of that, and compounded grief with many other things as well. And if people are wondering just how to respond if somebody is going through grief, like I'm just outpouring of my grief at the moment, you can just say that you're sorry that this happened, this awful thing happened, and the pain that we're going through, or the pain that somebody's going through. Please don't say things happen for a reason. It's not something that we believe. Please don't say she's in a better place, and that no, her place was here with her friends and family. It's just a very tragic thing that happened, and Sarah was not religious, so it doesn't feel right when people try to put religious reasons on something that happened like this. It's just a very tragic thing that happened, and we're very sad, and we're feeling the grief of that, and it's important to feel the grief and to not just quickly try and move on. In the long run, it's important to feel the grief, and that's what we're feeling at the moment. So the other very difficult thing that has happened this year, Hugh, started happening last year, but came to a head this year. Hugh has had a previous business partner abuse him, bully him, gaslight him. It's been an ongoing saga that he couldn't even really talk about much in the beginning, because when somebody is psychologically abusing you like that, you sort of don't even realize until it's so far in, and then it's difficult for people to talk about, but it's sort of coming out all in the open now. And so, also, like, end of last year, I just had a baby, and so all this is happening while I've got a newborn. This guy trying to keep Hugh away from us as much as possible, so Hugh wasn't there to support me, we have a newborn, and a lot of psychological abuse. So Hugh's mental health has suffered a lot, and his physical health has suffered a lot. So please don't comment on his physical appearance at the moment, because it's because of something very stressful that he's gone through. And hopefully next year we'll both be able to get healthier and feel better. And then also, when I just come back from the trip to Australia to say goodbye to Sarah, there was like legal letters from this guy trying to do stuff. So a lot of stress like that. And we had thought things had died down. And this person has started up with the stalking and the bullying and the abuse again. So it's probably going to come to a head with Hugh having to take legal action. But if anybody that's been through sort of an abuse case like that, of being terrorized by someone, it's because it's gone from just psychological abuse to threats of physical violence as well. It's very stressful, even if, you know, things will probably be okay. And it's been very, very stressful this year going through that. And yeah, we've had to work on sort of making sure our family is okay. And so all this is happening while, like, you know, I haven't had a proper night's sleep in over a year. Having a baby and a 5-year-old and everything like that. Everything's sort of happened at once this year. And then not to mention other tragedies in the world as well, like just things that also affect you mentally and emotionally. The war in Ukraine, Iran, and then close to home, the Itaewon crash that happened. That was very close to us. Something that affected us a lot as well, a lot emotionally. And then right at the moment, I've been dealing with bad cold. We've had ongoing colds, as well as being sick like that. My endometriosis is a problem at the moment, and also I've had mastitis. So it's been a lot of things all at once. And I know the changing of the year is just it doesn't mean that things will magically get better, but I am wanting to just put a lid on this year and be like, that was the worst year that we have experienced, and move into the new year hopefully having some type of healing. But of course, always missing Sarah, and it feels very strange to make a video. You know, we made videos together. She was a YouTuber as well. So many things I could say about her, and so many things I could talk about. And just how is she not here anymore? There's a lot of projects and videos and stuff that we wanted to do that we just haven't been able to do this year. So it's not the end of our channel. There's a lot of things that we want to do and we've been planning to do. But I just needed to make a video to say this is what happened this year. And so it's very difficult. And then next year, hopefully things will be okay.